Hi, this is Jennifer again with Fuck the Underdog, the words won't let me read them. So a lot of people have asked me, who do I think shaped me, or what do I think shaped me as a human? And I really think it's a combination of things. One, I had a really rough childhood. I have a ridiculously horrible father. I have an amazing stepfather. I have a wonderful mom. Some of these things help shape my life. Byproduct of my dad being a ridiculously horrible human, he, however, has had many wives. And in that collecting of wives, he actually married his second wife, who had an amazing son or two. The son's name is Brian. He was my first exposure to anything outside of blue-collar worker mentality life. He went to college at Central Michigan University. He was a computer engineer. As a child, 8, 9, 10 years old, I spent a lot of time with him when he would come home from college, and he would teach me about computers. We actually had an Amiga, and most people don't even know what that is. It's a Commodore. It was one of the first Windows machines ever invented. And he would spend hours of his time while he was in college teaching me how this computer worked, how the games worked, just general information. He showed me there is a way outside of living in this worker mentality life, being a factory worker or a bartender or whatnot. He actually, had accomplished great things. After he graduated college, he actually bought his first brand new car, and it was a Camaro. It was rust red. Gave me a ride in that Camaro, and then moved to Detroit, Michigan, which is about an hour and a half, 45-minute drive away. And we would go there frequently and just hang out with him while he worked on these amazing things. He actually worked on Norton Antivirus. He was one of the people that was integral to the creation of that thing. So he did a lot of really cool and amazing stuff throughout his life, and really was an influencing factor for me to go to college, for me to accomplish great things. But aside from that, it was also living in a life that wasn't ideal taught me a lot of strength and courage and how to fix stuff. And generally, I was born, as I mentioned in the second or third episode, I was born with this innate drive to just want to do things. So between this trifecta of things, my personality, my brother, and, a ridiculously bad childhood, I kind of pulled it together. And instead of going the way of, being the underdog and being another statistic, I went the way of, I can accomplish this, I can do more. When I went to college, I actually went to college multiple times. I have many degrees, but I don't have degrees for the reasons that people think that you would have them. I decided I wanted to be a doctor very young, and not because I wanted to be a doctor, but as a big FU to prove that I could do it. So I went back several times. I have 3 science degrees, and inevitably I ended up with an MBA as well. That being aside, I did those things not because that's what I wanted to do. I did it to prove a point. I can do it. I can be better than this. I can come out of my circumstance and achieve great things. Sit back, hold my beer, watch me. I'm going to do this. It's kind of been a theme throughout my life, but I do believe having that exposure to Brian when I was a child was integral in driving the train forward to education and lifelong learning and generally trying new things and kind of being a badass. He was a badass. He passed away a couple years ago from heart attack, and that was a great loss to this world. But he was a badass his entire life. The list of things that he accomplished, the people that he knew, the things that he did, and always throughout my life, even though his mom passed away a long time ago, I still considered him to be my brother throughout my entire life. And he made time for me every time I would go to LA. I would visit. He would hang out with me. We would have really deep, great conversations. He really instilled in me a belief that you should always be learning. You should always challenge the quota. You should always, step outside the box and think. And because of that, I've truly become a very unique human. Secondarily to that, in spite of the fact my childhood was a little rough, as I mentioned in another podcast, my mom read to me. My entire childhood, she read to me. I then became a very voracious reader, and I am always reading a couple books at a time. Sometimes it's fiction garbage just to keep my brain busy, and other times I'm reading self-help books. I'm reading business books. I'm reading growth books. I'm reading books just for knowledge. I have acquired a pretty large vocabulary as a result of just reading. Even if you're reading garbage, it helps you use your mind and imagination to kind of think outside the box. And I think that's been super valuable as well. So, here's hats off to my mom also for, instilling in me for being like a voracious reader. And always to this day, I still am. I don't watch TV. And I don't mean I don't watch TV. I mean, I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch television. I don't watch Hulu. I could never turn my TV on for months on end and I wouldn't notice because I think it's a ridiculous, boring waste of time. And instead I read. And I probably read 3 to 4 or 5 books every single week of my life. I'm always reading a book for the book club for work with my managers so that we can learn and implement the ideas that we gather from the book. I'm typically reading a book for enjoyment, which is usually some fiction-y crap, which is fine, but it's well written. And then finally, while doing 75 Hard, I have to read 10 pages of nonfiction every day, and I blow that out of the water just because
I can't.
And so oddly enough, today there was a post from another gentleman and he was asking people what they were reading. And I was like, in that list, I was like, I've read that. I'm in the middle of that. I just implemented that. I'm about to read that. Here's a couple suggestions. Here's a picture of the stack of books that I'm about to read. So what I typically do with books is if people suggest a book to me, I buy it. I put it in the bottom of the stack of books that are on my list of to-reads. I read the one from the top, and then I just keep going down the pile, and I keep adding to the bottom of the pile, and it's all over the place. And I may or may not have any interest in it. I've read some great books. I've read some terrible books. I've read some interesting books. But I do think this combination of items is what kind of shaped me into the human that I am, is that I'm always seeking knowledge. I'm always, open to ideas and thoughts that are outside of what I think. And it's because of my college experience. It's because of the reading. So that's kind of, who shaped me to be who I am. Have a great day.